console and this thing and everything, right? Okay. Right. So we'll just begin with here. What had we discussed yesterday? So we discussed another type of loop, which is called the while loop, right? And then we started our discussion on something called as array, right? In the case of arrays, we basically looked at a few things, right? Which is basically around how you can push things to an array. Push ka matlab hota hai to put something at the end of the array, right? And how we can access things in the array, right? So if I had to write down what we have talked about, right, in arrays so far, okay, the thing that we discussed is this. Okay, so we've talked about accessing an element from an array. Second is we've talked about pushing data / element to an array, right? Both were fairly easy. We know array is 0 index. So for accessing, let's say the 4th element, what do? You say A of or ARR, whatever the variable of your array is, you say ARR of 3, right? What this will help you do, guys? This will help you access that particular element of the array, right? Okay. So now that we have talked about these things, right? 4th element of the array, ARR 3 or whatever, we are able to access the element, we are able to push data to the array, right? Then basically we did 2 simple questions also. The first question was how do you, let's say you have an array in which sare elements look like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. How do you double every element in the array, right? So what we discovered, what we discovered is for this we have to use a for loop. We started from I is equal to 0, which is the 0th index, and we go up until length. Matlab length se ek kam. So we say, let's say this was ARR, right? So we say I is less than ARR dot length. We say I plus plus, and then we say ARR of I is equal to 2 star ARR of I, right? Does everyone understand this? Doubling every element of the array? Guys, does everyone understand it? Please type yes on the chat. Why we take constant? You can take length, you can take const, anything will work on it. So this will also work. I don't know what to repeat here, yaar. Matlab, there is an array, right? ARR, which has all these elements. हमें array के सारे elements double करने थे. Right? So basically what I'm saying is print this, right? Make this guy as 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 and 12. ठीक है, तो कुछ भी नहीं किया, मतलब एक लूप चलाया from I is equal to 0 because ये 0th index होता है to length -1 because अगर इसको देखोगे तो ये लूप में I की वैल्यू 0 से length -1 तक ही जाएंगी, और वहां पे बस बोल दिया ARR of I is equal to 2 star ARR of I, right? इसको बोलने का इजी तरीका ऐसे भी था, ARR star is equal to 2, right? Yeah, like table of 2 or whatever. It's, and the idea is iterating through the array and ये करो. समझ में आ गया guys? Doubling elements in the array. अरे भाई या तो yes बोलो या no बोलो. Length यूज किया तो है यहाँ पे ARR.length. शेख भाई क्या नहीं समझ आया, पूछिए. राहुल, what had I taught you? ऊपर चलो. पढ़ते नहीं हो क्या? रिवाइज नहीं करते हो तुम लोग? What had we decided learned here? We had learned अगर किसी these statements are equal, या तो आप x इज इक्वल टू एक्स प्लस वन बोल सकते हो, या फिर आप x प्लस इज इक्वल टू वन बोल सकते हो। सिमिलरली मल्टीप्लाई के लिए भी आप x इज इक्वल टू x स्टार वन या फिर वैसे लिख दो। व्हाट इज द डाउट राहुल? Guys, if you will not revise, then it will become a problem. What do you mean by use length? Are we not using length यहाँ पे अभी? What is your question? What is the question? So this is the case where we are using length. What do you want to use it for? What do you want to do? क्या करना चाहते हो length से बताओ? I don't think you have an answer. Okay. Anyway, Sheikh, you said no. क्या नहीं समझ आया आपको इसमें? Loop goes from 0 to length minus 1. I've just doubled every element of the array by accessing it. Where we have countable index, though we can use this length. See, it's not a question of length being given or not. If you have an array, right? आप उसको कैसे भी लिख सकते हैं. What is that going to accomplish? Siddiq, अगर आपने ARR of 1 को star is equal to 2 star लिख दिया, अगर आपने ये लिख दिया, इस चीज का तो कोई मतलब ही नहीं है ना यार. How you access array element of array is by seeing the variable of the array and square brackets में. What do you mean, Mukta? Where is length minus 1? Up. What do you mean? I didn't get you. Mukta, I'm asking you a question. What do you mean by length minus 1? आप मुझे ये बताओ, inside this, अगर हम इसको ऐसे लिख लेते हैं, I का वैल्यू 0 से स्टार्ट हो रहा है, ठीक है? I का वैल्यू कहाँ तक जाएगा? Till what point will the value of I go to? I will be 0, I will be 1, I will be 2, I will be 3, 4, 5. Can it go beyond 5? Will it enter the loop after that? Array dot length is 6. Array dot length minus 1 is 5, right? And the maximum value that I is going to achieve is 5. Uske baad, it will not increment, right? So basically, I has gone from 0 to array dot length minus 1. ये तो बोला मैंने. Which is what you need, because array का जो last element होता है, that is ARR dot length minus 1. अगर array की length 6 है, तो array का last element 5 होगा ना? It will be a ARR of 5. ARR of 6, क्योंकि array 0 indexed होता है. Is there still a doubt, Mukta? Okay, guys, are we clear now? Are we absolutely clear? जो बात की यहाँ पे, कोई डाउट है तो पूछ लो यार. Okay, if it's clear for everyone. Guys, if you do not practice this, nahi aayega. You have to go back home and really practice it. Okay, we are going to now move forward. Okay, so we know how to double an array, right? And how do we add elements to an array, right? So basically, let's say we have a question which says add first 10 natural numbers to the array, right? How do we do that? Okay. So the empty array, in this case, we'll say let ARR is equal to an empty array, right? Now the question is about adding 10 elements, right? So हम अपना loop 10 times run करेंगे. For let I is equal to 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus, right? So this loop is going to run 10 times, okay? When it's going to run 10 times, what that will mean is each time we have to push an element inside the array. Console dot क्यों करोगे साई? Why will you do console dot? Do you want to print something? Or do you want to push inside the array? So you will say ARR dot push and you will mention what you want to push, right? What is it that you want to push? I've said 10 natural numbers. No, what is the first natural number? Yes, Shivam is right, because the first natural number is 1 and not 0. Right. If we run this, for example, right here it is, I am going to run this. Inside of ARR, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. How do you know this? You can just console.log. Yeah. Okay. Is this clear to everyone? Yes or no, guys? Okay, great. Now, the next thing that we are going to move to is why not while loop and why for loop. You can use while loop also. आपके ऊपर है अमित. Can you convert this code into while loop? Now that you've mentioned it, बताओ अमित क्या लिखूं मैं? I'll write whatever you say. First line, ARR is equal to empty array लिखा हुआ है मान लो. What next should I write? Guys, we are converting this into a while loop. बताओ कैसे करना है? How do we do this? While it's getting to my used to my new laptop. While I is less than 10, then okay, Amit says I'm listening to Amit only. While I is less than equal to 10. Okay, then अब क्या करूँ Amit? ARR dot push. Amit बोलो. ARR dot push I. Is this what you're saying? Okay, and I कहाँ पे अभी? I declare किया आपने? Let I is equal to 1 like this. Perfect. Perfect, Amit. Perfect. Is this perfect? Okay, let's see what Amit's code will do. Okay, I is less than 10, I is equal to 1, right? Array में 1 push हो गया. अभी I का value क्या है? It's still 1. So you go inside, you again check the condition, I is less than 10. You again add 1 and you keep adding 1, 1, 1 because I will always be 1. So what is the problem? Yes, it's an infinite loop. Fix कैसे करें? Shivam? I plus plus. कहाँ पे? After this line or before this line? Okay. I plus plus. Done. After while कैसे करोगे किशोर भाई? अगर while के after ही कर दिया तो loop क्या repeat होगा? Inside the while loop only, right? If you do it after the while loop, then it makes no sense. It's still an infinite loop. Are we clear, guys? Okay, that is great. I think all of you are clear. I'm just going to start with some of the array methods. I'm just opening your curriculum so that I can see which all ones are important for us, so that I don't teach you anything beyond that. Give me a second, guys. I'm just opening your curriculum. Okay, so okay, let's do this, right? Run while sir once. Okay. Happy? Vidyasagar, happy? पहले से डिक्लेयर था ना, मैं आपने लिखा हुआ था पहले वो कोड. I'll just clear the console. This was already written there. नहीं तो array में 20 elements थोड़ी ना होते, 10 होते. Let's reload the page. Now when I press this, ARR is not defined. It's giving that error, right? So आपको ARR define करना पड़ेगा. Now ARR has 10 elements. Cool? Guys, cool? Everyone? बढ़िया बढ़िया बढ़िया. Okay. Now एक question करते हैं थोड़ा सा interesting, right? Guys, the question is like this, okay? There is going to be an array of elements, मतलब array of numbers, ठीक है? Array तो बहुत सारी चीजों का हो सकता है. आपको ये बताना है कि उस array के elements का sum कितना है, right? Did everyone understand that question? Okay. So basically there will be some array. It can have many elements. You have to tell me what will be the sum of all those elements in the array. And you can assume that this array only has integers, right? So let's just try to write this here. Okay, so I'm going to call it sum all elements in the array. Okay, so how do I go about this? Let's say ARR is that array. The name of that array is ARR. आपको उसके सारे elements का sum बताना है. Can anyone walk me through this step by step? Okay, Sweta, shall I unmute you? Sweta? Sweta, can I unmute you? अरे श्वेता बोलो तो सही फिर. Okay, unmute. Go ahead. Sweta, unmute yourself and go ahead.
Yeah, hi sir, good evening.
Hi, good evening. How do we go about this?
Okay, so we can create one function, and using that we can proceed with that.
We are not going to create any function because अभी हमने functions पढ़ा नहीं है. आप बस code बताओ ना जो function के अंदर आप लिखना चाहते हो.
Okay, so let's say like one variable will be like sum, which we are initializing with 0. So sum equals to 0 first.
Okay, so guys, what Sweta is saying is she's saying let sum is equal to 0.
Yeah.
Basically, she's creating a variable which has the value 0 initially. अब क्या करें?
And this we have to just iterate through all the elements and add them to the sum. So
Okay.
for that, like we'll apply one for loop here. So
Okay.
for int I equals to let I equals to 0 and I less than n.
There is no n here.
So we have to initialize n as well. So
No. Why do we have to initialize n?
सर ये array जो है ये तो मतलब कोई इनफाइनाइट फिक्स्ड वैल्यू का नहीं है, राइट?
तो आप ARR.length क्यों नहीं यूज कर सकते जो आपने ऊपर किया था?
हाँ, that we can use it, yes. Array.length, yeah, ARR.length and I++. and sum plus equals is ARR dot length of I.
What?
Um,
array
sum,
का एलिमेंट कैसे एक्सेस करते हैं श्वेता?
sir, sum में वो array का values जाएगा, that array of I, so which we have iterated, and then return sum.
There's no return here again.
Sorry, we have to console.log. Yeah, sorry.
You can unmute your, you can mute yourself. Okay. So what we have done here, guys, let's try to understand this. We took a variable sum is equal to 0. Why we are doing this is हमें sum निकालना है array के सारे elements का, right? And we want to have, so what we've done is we have created a separate variable जिसमें हम इसका sum डालते जाएंगे, right? Then what I do is I put a for loop, right? I is 0, I is less than array dot length, I plus plus. So what this will do is each time the value of I changes from 0 all the way to the end of the array, ARR of I is going to change, right? And we just keep adding that to the sum, right? So I say it's sum plus, first time ARR of 0 again, which is the first element. Second time loop chalega, ARR of 1 again, which is the second element, and all the way ऐसे जाके you would have basically put all the elements in this array, right? So we can test this also by defining the ARR. So let ARR is equal to 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, right? Let's try to run this. Okay, I say enter, and it says 55, right? Is 55 the right answer? सबको समझ में आया, guys? How to go about this? Okay, so now we know how to go through the elements of the array, right? Because we don't know the complete length of the array, so हम ARR.length use करते हैं उसके लिए. It basically tells us how many elements there are in the array, right? Otherwise, अगर आपको number of elements पता है, so you could have set that also, but usually you will not know the number of elements, right? Okay, and we also realized array में चीजें कैसे डालते हैं, right? What we end up doing is we end up pushing things into the array by saying ARR.push, right? Which will add things to the end of the array, right? So is everyone clear with these two concepts? Accessing element of the array, making changes to it, and second, pushing elements in the array. Clear है guys सबको? Is there any doubt? No doubt? Okay, great. Okay, next, right? Basically, there is another type of logical condition that I wanted to teach you guys, right? अभी के लिए क्या होता है guys? Let's say, okay, I'll give you another एक और question करते हैं, right? So in here, what you want to do is sum up, find sum of all elements of the array. ठीक है? If that sum is even, console.log मतलब और print even ऐसे string में, otherwise print odd. How do we do this? Anyone? किसको बताना है? Anyone wants to speak this time? Okay, Milan has asked many times. So Milan, let's unmute you. बताओ Milan. Milan, you're not audible if you're speaking. Milan, you're not audible. No, I'll have to ask someone else. Who wants to go? Priyanka, okay. Go ahead, Priyanka.
Hello, hi sir.
Hi, Priyanka.
So in this case, we will write the code as it is, like tell console.log, just above that step, we'll write the same.
Okay, perfect. I'll
After
take
that,
that.
yes,
Yes,
after that,
yeah.
we'll write the condition
Mhm.
if sum is equal to, uh, we have to check for even now. So sorry, mod 2 is mod 2
Some modulus 2.
equals to 0,
Okay,
console.log even,
okay.
else
Mhm.
console.log odd.
Okay, perfect. Simple enough, right? Okay,
Yes.
guys, the reason that I asked you this question is, of course, practice. And the second one is I wanted to talk to you about the ternary operator also, right? So ternary, by definition, is something which works on three things, right? Which has three parts. So there is primary, there is secondary, and there is ternary, right? So ternary का मतलब तीन चीज है. So what does ternary operator do? It looks slightly weird. Okay, this is how it looks like. So first you specify a condition. Let's talk about the syntax. Right. First you specify a condition. ठीक है, condition ऐसे ही जैसे यहाँ पे ये लिखा है. Anything which either returns true or false is a condition, right? After that you put a question mark, right? And this is the statement one, which will be executed if it's true. Otherwise, statement 2 will be executed if it's false, right? So the advantage of this is आप इसको छोटे में लिख सकते हैं, right? So it's like a small way of writing if else, right? So what could we have said here instead of that? We can say something like some percentage 2 is equal to 0. अगर ऐसा है तो you say console.log even. Otherwise, colon, you say console.log odd. Okay, so this is what I'm saying. Both these things, line number 316, which you've just written down in one line, या फिर line number 318 से 321 तक, दोनों same चीजें करती हैं, right? So they both do the same thing. This is just a more concise and a more smaller way of writing this whole thing, right? So अगर आपके पास एक सिर्फ if and else वाला है, you can just write this thing. Is it clear? Okay, let's try this out also. एक array ले लेते हैं ऐसा, okay, and चलिए guys try कर लेते हैं इसको. Okay, so I press enter, it says odd, right? Because इसका sum 55 था, so that's why it says odd. Okay, इस बार what I'll do is I'll just make this guy 11, so the sum will now become 56. ठीक है, and 56, as you know, is even. So when you press enter, it says even. Understood? मुश्किल तो नहीं है guys, simple enough. The ternary operator. Revision of using mode. Mode मुझे नहीं पता अरबी क्या होता है. Modulus. So, I mean, if you know what modulus is, what do you want the revision for? What is your question? Repeat what, Adam? क्या repeat करना है Adam? बताओ. What did you not understand? So modulus operator basically returns the remainder after division. Things which are divisible by 2, right, will leave remainder as 0 after division. So I said sum modulus 2 is equal to 0. It basically means agar sum ka modulus with 2, yani ki agar sum when divided by 2, if it leaves a remainder 0, to console.log even kar do, otherwise console.log odd kar do. Is this clear now? Okay, great, RV. Adam, I don't get your question. Basically, what we've done, I'll still repeat. We have summed up the array, which I had just explained in the previous question. After that, what I have done is, instead of using the if else, I have used a ternary condition. This is how you use the ternary condition. You first write the condition, put a question mark, then the statement that is to be executed if the condition is true. Otherwise, the statement which is to be executed if the condition is false. Is it clear, Adam? %2 is equal to 1. What you're saying is perfectly right, Azhar, but ठीक से लिखो ना. So 2% मत लिखो. Some percentage 2 is equal to 1. ऐसा बोलो ना. This also works. Yes. Vidyasagar, go ahead. मुझे समझ नहीं आ रहा आप क्या कह रहे हो. डू आपको सम क्यों प्रिंट करना है? हमने पिछले क्वेश्चन में प्रिंट किया था. डू यू वांट टू सी द सम अगेन? आई एम नॉट अंडरस्टैंडिंग. विद्यासागर, क्या चाहते हो? What are you going to do with this sum? Go ahead, print it. It's 56. And it's even. So what is the question, Vidyasagar? This is a syntax, right? This is the syntax. You put a question mark. That's the syntax. It says if this condition is true, then I execute what is written just after the question mark, which is this. Otherwise, I execute this one. Guys, how many of you have read the book which I had given on the first day? Okay. Okay. How far have you read this? Read that book? Chapter 5. समझ में आ रहा है, guys? Are you guys able to understand, make sense of that book? Okay, great. Great, great. This is good to know. I'll get to array functions. Don't worry. See, if you keep reading the book, धीरे धीरे पढ़ो. इतना तेज पढ़ने का जरूरत नहीं है हमें. Chapter 5 पे जाने का is not needed. But if we do this together, right? हाँ, तो एक ही चैप्टर बार बार पढ़ो ना. Don't just rush through the whole book. 10 chapters पढ़ने के बाद first chapter से start नहीं करना, सौरभ. And whenever I teach the same thing in the class, it will become absolutely clear, right? So basically, if you're reading the book and then I'm also teaching you, it will have double effect, right? You'll learn with double speed, right? Because this is, for most of you, this is the first programming language. So writing code is not something which is, जिससे आप बहुत familiar हैं guys. मतलब आपको code लिखना नहीं आता अभी, most of you guys, right? So यार अब someone is saying I have no book. I had given the link. Krishna, classes में नहीं आते क्या? I'm moving forward here anyway. Okay, so what we want to discuss now is the remaining types of, मतलब बहुत सारे array functions और भी होते हैं. I just wanted to bring them one by one. ठीक है? तो ternary operator हमने सीख लिया. We know the basics of array, and let's talk a bit more about the array, right? So JavaScript, in some sense, is a very cool language, right? Why is it called cool? Because it just gives you a lot of functions just out of the box, right? तो एक एक करके सीखते हैं guys. So सबसे पहला which I want to tell you about is called the shift function, right? Okay, so it's जैसे हमने देखा है, there is something called as push, right? An equivalent of push is shift, right? Shift. Okay, so in push क्या होता है? That the element that you're trying to add to the array gets pushed at the end of the array, right? If you want to add something to the beginning of the array, right? How do you do that? You can use shift, right? So इसको use कैसे करते हैं देखते हैं guys. So what I'm going to do is, again, I will have my array which is empty अभी के लिए. Okay, and I'll just copy paste this whole thing, right? ये वाला यहाँ पे, and instead of push I'm going to say arr dot shift I plus 1. Okay, let's see what this does. Code copy किया, let's paste on the console. I press enter and देखते हैं arr कैसा दिखता है. arr is still empty, right? Why is it empty? Because it's, does anyone know why it's empty? If you know, you can just type on the chat. Okay, I'll tell you why it's empty. Very simple. Because it's not shift, it's unshift. I was just playing with you guys. Okay, now we say unshift and press enter, and let's see arr कैसा दिखता है. And it is still empty, right? Can anyone tell me the reason for this? कोई तो reason बताओ यार. What is wrong with this code? Shift or unshift, whatever. What is wrong with this code? Amit, क्यों नहीं चल रहा code? Go ahead. I've just opened the chat. So Javed says it's length. The correct answer is we have not defined that there is no length of the array. I said I is equal to 0. Arr dot length is equal to 0. So 0 is less than 0. That's not true. So it will never enter the loop. Right? So how do we fix this? We could have said I is less than, let's say, 10. Okay. Now, if you check arr, it has all the elements. Right? And let's just try to understand ये उल्टे order में क्यों आ रहा है, right? So two things, guys. One is it's not shift, it's unshift. Okay. जैसे push होता है for adding elements at the end of the array, it just keeps on putting elements from the back. Unshift keeps on putting elements from the beginning, right? So what basically this loop does is पहले array ऐसा था, right? It will say, hey, let I 0, I is less than, let me write 10 यहाँ पे, I is less than 10, I plus plus. So first time the loop enters, I is 0, I plus 1 is 1, right? So it puts 1 in the array, right? Then basically I plus plus happens, I becomes 1, and you come inside the loop again because 1 is still less than 10, and you say array dot unshift I plus 1. So you end up adding 2 to the array, right? But ये unshift है, push नहीं है, so 2 comes here, right? Similarly, 3 comes, then 4 comes, then 5, right? Then 6, then 7, and then 8, then 9, and finally 10 comes. Got it? I hope it's clear. Is it clear? Unshift is clear? Okay, so unshift is used to add elements in the elements to the array from the beginning. Okay. Okay, so just like there is push, there is unshift. Remember, this is a very important. This can be very important for adding elements to the beginning of the array, unlike adding elements to the end of the array. Okay. Okay. Next. So now we know that how we add elements into the beginning of the array. Now let's talk about removing elements from the array. Okay. So let's say you had to remove 3 elements from the array, right? So let's just assume apna array looks like this, right? And the question is remove last 3 elements. Right? So let me just tell you how this works. We have an array ARR which is written here, right? If I do ARR dot pop, right, guys, what it does is, जैसे push का मतलब होता है at the end of the array push करना element. So let's say if I say ARR dot push 0, what will happen is ARR will become 0 क्योंकि 0 end में add हो गया, right? And similarly, अगर मुझे starting में डालना था, so I could have said ARR dot unshift and I could have said 11. Correct? And ARR now looks like this. It has 12 elements. ठीक है? Similarly, अगर मुझे array से element remove करना है from the end, I can say ARR dot pop and just call this, right? So what will happen is it will basically remove that 0 from the end of the array, right? Right? It's for removing element from the end of the array. Clear, everyone? Array से element remove कैसे करते हैं? समझ में आ गया सबको? Okay. So again, by symmetry, if you can remove from the end, you can. अरे भाई सिद्दीक जब लास्ट में का एलिमेंट हटा रहा है तो एक ही बार तो हटाएगा ना? What is that question, यार? So when you say ARR, तो रन ही तो किया था पल्लवी. ARR is this. If I do ARR dot push something, let's say I push 0, it adds 0 to the end of the array. देखो, right? If I say ARR dot pop, it removes 1 element from the end of the array, right? So let's check ARR कैसा दिखता है. ARR looks like this now. What is the doubt about this? पल्लवी, इसमें क्या डाउट है आपको? Okay, right? So मैंने आपको क्या क्वेश्चन दिया guys? Remove last n elements from the array. कैसे करें? How can I remove last 3 elements from the array? Or it could be last 5 elements, it could be last n elements. Can anyone tell me? Basically, there is an action which needs to be repeated 3 number of times or n number of times. कैसे लिखें? How do I write that? Okay. ARR dot pop index. Okay, जावेद बताओ कैसे लिखना है? I don't know n-3 की बात क्या बोल रहे हो यार? Yeah, very simply what Milan said. अगर n elements हटाने हैं तो for n times एक pop action ही तो repeat करना है भाई. Let I is 0, I is less than n, I plus plus, and you say ARR dot pop. Where is delete length -3 reverse array and then क्या बोल रहे हो guys? Can I not just do this? Do I not have to do I not have to very simply do this? I have to remove 3 elements from it. So I say arr.pop. I called it 1 time. I called it 2 times. I called it 3 times. And this is what array looks like now. First 3 elements are deleted. I just have to call that action multiple times, right? How many times I do have to call it? I have to call it n times. So I run a loop from 0 to n. And I say arr.pop. Guys, yes or no? Then why are you complicating it? It's very simple, na? Where is the question of I is n minus 3 and whatever you guys said? That's how a pop works. It does not take anything. It just has to remove an element, right? So why will it take anything? Okay, I mean, there are ways to write it, but sir, if you want to remove from first, then Arvi, let me be the teacher, Baba. I'm telling you that. Pehle, let's understand this one, na, jo bata raha hu. Okay, so as there is pop, by symmetry, there is shift, which I had mentioned earlier, right? So shift for removing elements from start. Okay. So again, let's try this out. We have ARR, which looks like this. I say ARR.shift, right? So it basically shifts the whole array. So basically this was your array, it will just shift it. Okay. So I say ARR.shift, and now ARR becomes like this. You call ARR.shift again. ARR becomes like this. Understood, guys? Understood? Okay. So now I ask you a simple question. Please don't complicate this one, yaar. Okay? Shift, remove 3 elements or n elements, whatever, from both start and end of the array. How do I do this? Kaun batayega? Who will tell me? Batao Amit. How to do this? How do we do this, Amit? I don't know what splice is. Please mujhe batane the splice. Okay, take your minute. बताओ guys. अरे अमित भाई अब तो लिख दो. Don't worry, everyone has written the answer, so it's fine. Maybe next time. So yes, very simple, right? That I is equal to 0. I'll just copy Ajay's answer. That will save me time. I'm able to copy also. Or let I equal 0, I is less than n, where n could be the number of elements that you wanted to remove. And in here you say ARR.shift. So ये क्या करेगा? First element from start हटा देगा, and you say ARR.pop. ये क्या करेगा? Last element हटा देगा. And when you do it 3 times, so you will have removed 3 elements from here and 3 elements from here, and what will remain will remain. ठीक है? Try करके देखते हैं. I think this is a cool one. So ARR is this, and instead of n, I'll say 3. I do this, ARR looks like 7654. Understood? Everyone? Shift, unshift, push, pop. क्लियर है गाइस? सिंपल है और इज इट टफ? Easy? Okay, great. Okay, now let's talk about another array method then. So we've talked about reverse. We've not talked about reverse. I'll talk about reverse now. Okay. As you can guess, right, the first pop and then shift. Then what it will do? It will do the same thing, Mukta. Pop का मतलब होता है last element, to remove the last element. Shift का मतलब होता है to remove the first element. Does it matter in which order you remove them? Okay. Next is reverse. Okay. So again, very, very simple one. Reverse of an array. Okay. Browser में कैसे we can write this because okay. So in browser, when you're trying to write code, either write it here and then copy. So if I wanted to use this, I can copy here like this. वेबसाइट पे कैसे काम करेगा भाई? वेबसाइट पे जावास्क्रिप्ट काम करेगी तो ये भी चलेगा। अरे भाई ब्राउजर पे तो मैं बता ही रहा हूँ ना, पहले आई एम टेलिंग यू हियर आल्सो सो दैट आप लोगों के नोट्स बन जाए। इफ आई कीप राइटिंग ऑन ब्राउजर देन हाउ एम आई गोइंग टू गिव दिस फाइल टू यू? डू यू नॉट नीड दिस नोट्स? See, I can tell everything on the browser. It's very easy for me, but then I will have no. Do you need this or not? Then I'll have to type the code यहाँ पे ना बाबा. So then you copy this code. You copy this code to the browser and you run it. Right now, n is not defined. Okay. ठीक है यार, पता नहीं. What are you asking, guys? सुन पढ़ लो ना यार. So now what we want to do is reversing of an array, right? How do we reverse an array? Can anyone tell me? I mean, of course, that is the answer. But reverse कैसे करेंगे array को? Let's say there is an array. Let ARR is, let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. So of course, let me tell you that the simple way to do it is you can just say ARR.reverse. It will actually reverse the array. Okay. Okay. So you can just reverse the array like this. How can we if we call this function, वो reverse हो जाएगा, right? How can we do it otherwise? Okay, so Javed is giving me one way to do this. और कोई तरीका आता है Javed, which will be simple. Hey, swapping and all, don't go there यार अभी. Simple बताओ कुछ. अभी जो पढ़ाया उससे. Swapping is a complicated thing to do. It will be hard for everyone to implement. Unshift, yes. I like that answer, RB. कैसे करें अभी? अरे what syntax बाबा? There is only dot unshift. उसमें आपको syntax क्या जानना है? I just taught you. What else do you need apart from this? You tell me. Unshift is for adding elements like this. Unshift with the element that you want to add. So RV, tell me then. Hey, Shweta, array.unshift takes an argument. You have to tell what you want to unshift with. Unshift means adding something to the beginning of the array. This makes no sense, Milan. ARR.pop takes element from the last of the array. ARR.len लिखने का कोई point ही नहीं है उसमें. ARR.unshift में अगर आप arr.length डालोगे, so it will add the length of the array as a first element to the array. So this makes no sense. सोच के बोलो. Again, Priyanka, absolutely wrong. You're logging it. What I have asked you is reversing the array. तो अमित कोड बताओ ना फिर, अगर आता है तो सर. Akash is saying I is equal to 5, I is less than 1. I is less than equal to 1. No, absolutely wrong. Wrong condition. Come on guys, कोई तो बताओ reverse कैसे करें array को. What are we trying to do? Simple नहीं है. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What I want you to do is add 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. एक एलिमेंट यहां से उठाना है, array में स्टार्ट में डालना है, 4 को उठाना है, उसके बाद डालना है. What is hard about this? बताओ शिवम कैसे करें फिर. Of course using for loop, sir, but how to use that? Syntax is wrong, Ambuj, Ajay. Syntax पूरा गलत है अमित यार. Pratik says unmute me. Pratik, will you answer my question? Then I'll unmute you. आ जाओ Pratik, you're unmuted. I can't hear anything, Pratik. I think you also have a mic problem. Okay, I think Javed said something which makes sense. arr.unshift arr of I. Okay, and how do I run this, Javed? कहाँ से कहाँ पे चलाऊं? Okay, okay, Javed, I'm going to listen to you. Shall I unmute you, Javed? No? Okay, then just tell me what code should I write. So there is a for loop. From where to where it should run? Okay, let I is equal to 0. Then I is less than arr.length. Then I plus plus, of course. अब यहाँ पे क्या लिखूं जावेद? जावेद बताओ. जावेद भाई बताओ ना. Unshift. What do I write inside this? Unshift के अंदर कुछ डालना भी तो पड़ेगा ना बाबा. What do I write? Okay, so you're saying I write arr of I? Is this what you mean? Okay, there's a second array. Let's call it let arr2. Like this, right? Then what do I do, Javed? पूरा बताओ जल्दी. No, अरे भाई arr2 तो बताओ ना यहाँ पे. Where should I write that? Is this what you're saying? Okay, let's run this and see if Javed is right. Okay, so what I have here is I have let ARR, जिसमें 1 2 3 4 5 है, इसको हटा देते हैं, and then let ARR2, which is an empty array. Then we say ARR2 dot unshift ARR of I, right? Unshift में हमें क्या डालना होता है, guys? Basically, what we want to put in the array from the beginning, right? So what Javed is saying is, let's look at the board once. He said, hey, create an empty array. I did that. Okay. ARR पे ARR, which is 1 2 3 4 5. Read one element, right? So you read one. मैंने one read किया. उसको इसमें unshift कर दो. What that means is put it at the beginning. Okay. I put 1 at the beginning, right? Then the loop will go next. Next it will read 2, right? And then Javed says ARR2 में unshift कर दो 2 को. So what this will do is it will move 1 थोड़ा सा इधर and put 2 here, because that's what unshift does. Starting में डालता है. Similarly for 3, so it becomes 3 to 1, right? Similarly for 4, similarly for 5. So at the end, what you have is 5 4 3 2 1. समझ में आया? So let's run this. देखते हैं. Here are 2 is 5 4 3 2 1. Brilliant. Right? That's a good question, Naval. So Javed, अगर हमें ये in place करना होता, in place का मतलब है अभी we have created a new array and we are changing that. ARR को ही कैसे change करें? If I do something like this, does it work? I don't know. I'm asking you guys. Doesn't work. So understand what I have done. Understand what I have done. I'm pulling something from the array, right? From the end, array.pop, यानी कि 5 निकाला, उसको array के start में डाल दिया. Next निकाला, उसको array के start में डाल दिया, right? What if I had done shift here? Let's understand what that will do. Again, does not work. Why is it not working? See, let's understand this. Okay. And when I say ARR dot shift, it basically returns me 1, right? Basically, it returns you the element which it has removed, right? Similarly, when you do ARR.pop, right, it returns you 5. Okay. So what I'm doing is we want to pull in the last element और उसको सबसे आगे डालना है, right? You have to pull in so what I did here, guys, is I pulled in this element, right? Let's just try to understand this, what I have written here. I'm saying array.unshift, array.shift. So array.shift will give you 1, right? So 1 starting में डाल रहे हैं, right? So now the array is what the array becomes. Okay, I think it's getting too complicated for you guys, so I will not carry this forward. But anyway, we have the understanding now कि ARR2 को कैसे create किया and how we added elements to it, right? Basically, एक array से हम pop करते गए and we did unshift to another array and we got the new element, right? Next is very simply, you could have used the reverse function, right? So this is A, you could have said A dot reverse and it will just reverse the array for you. Why you will use shift or pop? To remove element from the starting or the beginning of the array. What do you mean? Why will I use it? Guys, are we clear? सबको समझ में आ गया जो किया? I was trying to explain you something, Amit, but it was getting too complicated for you guys, so I just dropped it. If you are able to understand this, कोई problem नहीं है. सबको समझ में आ गया ये? Okay. Another method. I don't think right now it's required, but yeah. Okay. Another method that I want to talk about right now is called join, right? So there's another array method which is called join. Join क्या करता है, guys? Again, a good method. Basically, it joins all the elements inside the array and आपको वो string return कर देता है, right? So let's say you had a string, right? Let's say you had an array which looked like this, okay? जिसमें 1 2 3 4 5 था, and you wanted a string out of this. String कैसा? ऐसा string, right? So what you can do is, again, there are two ways to do this. One, you know that हम strings को concatenate कर सकते हैं, या फिर we can join the string. So what we can do is we can say let str, which is basically my string, is an empty string for now. I said for let I0, I less than era dot length I plus plus, and I can say str is equal to str plus err of I. ये क्या करेगा? Basically, it's an empty string. To this, it will keep adding those elements as strings, right? So let's try this out. If I write this, इसको हटा देते हैं. str now is basically the string, right? Right? Or an easier way, or a very straightforward way to do this, is use array.join, right? Array.join क्या करता है? ये सब हटा दो, and you can just say array.join, right? So basically, it will join the string, all the elements with a comma in between, right? But if you don't want that comma, you can just specify an empty string here and will join them with this. And आपको जो भी यहाँ पे आप specify करोगे, it will basically join it with those things. So let's say I write my name, I'll just write P, otherwise it will get confusing. Now I get 1P, 2P, 3P, 4P, and 5, right? So join with whatever character you wanted to join. Everything is useful. These are just tools that I'm giving to you right now. Later on, they will make a lot more sense. Can P come before? Yeah, it's used to make an array join. So you will be putting that character. Why are you even asking that? It's for joining the things inside that array, right, into a string. So you join things in with something in between, right? Clear or not, guys? जल्दी बताओ. सबको clear है, guys? Nothing complicated. Yeah, Rahul, if you want to do that, there is a specific, you do it. आपको कोई रोक थोड़ी ना रहा है, but that will have to be your own implementation. Array.join method works this way. It basically joins the elements of the array with something in the middle. If you want to do that, go ahead. But that will be your own implementation. You write your own code for it. err.join method works like this. Now, why it works like this is a bad question, yeah. It's a predefined method. मैंने नहीं बनाया. And once you start working on it, you will realize that, hey, this was the best way of implementing it, because this is the most common use case. Now, if you want to implement something special, you can do this. What is a method? I'll tell you what is a method once I teach you functions. Okay for today? Already? Already, guys? Let's अभी थोड़ा सा और पढ़ते हैं, ठीक है? No, we'll study थोड़ा सा और, okay? Okay. Next thing that we are going to talk about is called concat. So like strings have concatenation. Basically, you add two strings. Array also has concatenation. Okay. Okay, it's called concat for short. इसका क्या मतलब है? Let's say you had an array 1, which was, let's say 1, 2, 3, and then you had array 2, let's say, which was 4, 5, 6, right? If you have to join the arrays together, right? So basically, if you want an array like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? What you can do is you can concatenate the two. ठीक है? वो कैसे करते हैं? देख लेते हैं. I had ARR1, ARR2. I can say ARR1 dot concat ARR2. Right? And what you get is a joined array, right, of those two arrays. Right? So ARR1 dot concat ARR2 will give you that joined array. समझ में आ गया guys? ये वाला concat simple तो है, इसमें क्या ही है, right? So ARR1 dot concat like this. Okay. Cool. ठीक है. What else? We talked about this thing. Now another cool concept, and this is the last concept of today, और उसके बाद रुक जाएंगे. ठीक है? Okay. The concept today is, let's say आपके पास कोई array था, right? इसको समझते हैं, and then we'll stop. ठीक है? Promise. So let's say there was an array which looked like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 31, whatever. कुछ भी numbers थे उसमें, right? मान लो guys आपको ये check करना है if इस array में, इस पूरे array में number 12 exist करता है या नहीं, right? So basically you have to find if there is a number which is 12 inside this array or not. So we know it does not exist because पूरे array में कहीं है नहीं. How can we do this? Find an element in the array. How can we do this? For loop से क्या करोगे अजहर? भाई loop, अरे भाई loop की बात थोड़ी ना है. No, are you serious? Are you crazy that I'll say array.find करके आपको पता लग जाएगा? Give me an answer, guys. You have to check through whole of the array and see if it's present inside that. The question is, yes, Nagendra, you're saying the correct thing, right? ये भाई अजहर क्या बोल रहे हो यार? Unshift, what are you saying? Unshift is equal to 12. What nonsense is that? ARR.unshift is a function. You have to call it. And when you call it, it basically adds something to the beginning of the array. How can you make it equal to something? If or else is one thing, but how do you find this? Code batao koi. The basic things is, Shivam, aap bataoge code? I'll unmute you. Okay, batao. Go ahead, Shivam.
Hello.
Hi Shivam.
Yes, sir. First of all, we need to calculate the length of the function, len of the array.
कैलकुलेट क्यों करोगे यार, ARR डॉट लेंथ दे ही तो देते हैं।
Okay,
Calculate
okay.
क्या करना है आपको?
Follow, sir. Follow for let I.
एक सेकंड पहले
Okay.
an element in the array, right? If the element exists, आपको बोलना है exists, अगर नहीं मिलता तो आपको बोलना है does not exist, ठीक है?
Okay, sir.
अब बताओ
Okay.
क्या करना है?
For loop
Okay.
let I
Hmm.
equal to 0.
Okay.
I less than
Hmm.
AR dot len
Okay,
and I
sir.
plus plus.
Okay.
Now, sir, if
Hmm.
array I
Hmm.
triple equal to
Let's call that num, ठीक है, जिसको अपन ढूंढ रहे थे। Triple equal to
num,
okay, बढ़िया।
then console dot log
dot log
and
exists, ऐसा लिख देते हैं।
and then, sir, we can also break the loop.
अब ब्रेक अभी मैंने पढ़ाया नहीं तो कोई
Okay.
बात नहीं। console dot log exists, ठीक है। बट अब ये कैसे पता लगेगा
Okay.
कि अगर नहीं एग्जिस्ट करता मान लो, राइट? सो बेसिकली दिस होल लूप इज गोइंग टू रन।
Yeah.
ये चीज कभी प्रिंट नहीं होगा, दिस थिंग विल नेवर गेट प्रिंटेड।
Okay. Okay.
सो हाउ
Sir,
डू यू
else. Sir, we can create a temp variable.
ओके
Let temp equal to 0.
ओके
Now, sir, okay. Now, sir, हम if में temp को sir change कर देंगे, like exist होगा 1 कर देंगे इसको.
इफ इट एग्जिस्ट आप बोलो टेम्प को 1 कर दें।
Okay, and then sir loop के बाहर आते ही if अगर temp equal to 0 है then no exist नहीं करता है.
टर्नरी लगा सकते हैं यहाँ पे?
Yeah, sir. Okay.
ऐसे
Yeah. Then console dot log not exist. But sir, ternary में okay. Okay, sir. But sir, in that situation, okay, sir. Fine. But sir, console dot log if 2 बार print हो जाएगा, if sir exist होगा तो.
क्यों?
Sir, okay, fine. Sorry, sir. I think इसके मतलब loop के अंदर भी है, but वहाँ नहीं है. Okay, sir. Fine.
Okay, mute yourself. Thank you. Okay, so who was able to understand this? Amit was able to understand this. Arvi, please let me be the one to decide which concept is high level and which concept is low level. If you are not able to understand this, say that. Say that. No. Okay. Let's understand this. Yes, say that. I will explain it to you. Okay. Guys, the question is this, right? आपके पास एक array है इस तरीके से, right? जिसमें basically there is one element which is आपको check करना है if it exists, if it is existing or not existing, right? So a very simple way, right? It's a very simple thing if you think like this. What do you have to do is आपको array का हर एक element को travel करके देखना है, right? How do you do that? All of you know the answer to that. The answer to that is for loop, right? Because using a for loop, you will be able to go to each and every element of the array, right? So basically I say I is equal to 0, I is less than ARR dot length, and ARR I को I keep checking, right? Because ARR of 0 होगा, ARR of 1 होगा, ARR 2, सबको मैं check करता जाऊंगा, right? Right? इतना समझ में आता है guys? How we can access each element of the array? Are we? Okay. Now, once you can check each element of the array, all you have to do is just check whether that element is equal to that number, right? So मैंने यहाँ पे आपको बोला that number is 12, right? And here I'm just calling that as a variable, let num, let's assume इसके अंदर कुछ भी हो सकता था, let num is equal to 12 for example, whatever, right? Isn't that all you have to do? आपको ये तो देखना है whether उसके अंदर it has that, it has, and if any element of the array is equal to that num or not, correct? Right? Now coming to the second part of why this temp is equal to 1 we have kept. What we are saying is very simple. ठीक है, समझो उसको. We created a flag variable, right? ये flag variable क्या करता है guys? It, when you traverse through the array, right? When you traverse through the whole array, it basically, we have this condition that hey, if at some place ARR of I becomes equal to num, right? यानी कि अगर इस पूरे के अंदर कहीं पे 12 आ गया, so flag which was initially 0, I changed that flag to 1. Okay? So now what that means is when you are iterating through this whole loop, right? When you are going through the whole array, if that number existed in the array, तो आपका flag का value 1 हो जाएगा, because only in that condition is this if going to run, right? And if this does not change to 1, you by default know that hey, that element did not exist inside the array. Then what I have done here is the ternary operator, which we just talked about the other day. Today, if temp is 0, console.log does not exist, else console.log it exists. Do we understand? Do we understand that or not? That is not going to be the case, Sweta. Let's not cover that. Did everyone understand this? I'll repeat this 5 times if you guys don't understand it. But मुझे बताओ, did you guys understand this or not? Okay, Shubham को नहीं समझ आया. Arvi, what is your case? Did you understand or not? Arvi, did you understand or not? What do you mean my temp is triple equal to 0? What are you saying? Okay, let's understand this again. No, it has nothing to do with 12. Hang on. What is triple equal to? Guys, if you are not going to revise what is being taught in the class, how can I help you? ये क्या लिखा है इधर? What have we written here, Adam? What is this written here, Adam? The first is equal to operator, the second is exact equality operator, and then you can use either of them. I had told you in that class that using either of them is fine. Now, coming to, they are both equivalent. Adam, please, purana lecture dekh ke aao. I have taught this in class. They are the exact same thing. And to answer to Amul, but regarding making it complicated, simple use if and else. Are you here to learn or what, Amul? When I have taught this ternary operator today, why will I not use it? Amul, do you have an answer for that? So either say that you don't want to learn, that's a different thing, right? But if you're willing to learn, what is the problem with writing this instead of if and else? So if you're here for learning, then why are you making such statements? क्या complicated है इसमें, मुझे बताओ. ये बोलो, समझ में नहीं आ रहा. Okay, I'll repeat this again. Either you are here to learn or just change your attitude. Okay. Now, what we are trying to do here is very simple. हमारे पास एक array है, right, which has all these elements, right? Now, what we want to do is we want to check if this array had 12 inside this or not, right? So let there be an array which is like this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 11, 15, 17, 19, 31, right? As let's say this is an array, right? So inside this array, what we are trying to do is हम check कर रहे हैं यार whether this num guy exists inside this array or not. Okay, हमें basically check करना था whether this array has 12 or not, right? देख के तो पता लग रहा है that 12 does not exist, right? But let's say there were 10,000 elements in the array, so you just can't see and tell, right? So what I have done is very simple. I have taken a flag variable, right? So I say let flag is equal to 0, right? Then what we end up doing is we end up going through every element of the array, right? So what I'm going to do is what the computer is going to do. It will go to 1, which is ARR of 0, and check, hey, is this 12? Is this 12? No, it's not 12. So this if does not run. 2 pe gaya, ARR of 1, right? Is that equal to 12? No. So this if again does not run. Essay guys, it will just go through each of these values. How we know that because I is 0 and I is less than ARR dot length. It will go through each of the value and try to see if any of the ARR I is actually equal to 12, right? Will that ever happen in this case? No, in this case, it will not happen because इसमें कभी भी this condition is not going to evaluate to true, right? This will never be true. And if this will never be true, flag का value कभी 1 नहीं होगा, right? Right? If the value of flag never changes to 1, right? Basically, it tells us कि वो element array के अंदर exist नहीं करता, right? So if flag is 0, we say element does not exist. Otherwise, we say it exists. किसको नहीं समझ में आया? Who did not understand this? And I ask each and every one of you now, is anything about this complicated? Is this complicated? I want to see no on the chat. So please correct your attitude, guys. I am not supposed to be teaching you data structure algorithms. I'm still making an effort कि आपको DSA का कुछ part सिखा दूं. If you don't want to learn, I can just give dumb examples in the class and keep moving forward. Do you want that? If you want to learn, then you have to practice the right attitude. I'm here to teach you. 10 बार पूछो, problem नहीं है. But attitude ठीक करो. Cool. That's it for today. Now, since we have, okay, Anjali says we can directly write console.log instead of flag. Anjali, problem समझो उससे क्या होगा? अगर आपने यहाँ पे console.log लिख लिया, right? और flag हटा दिया, let's say ये लिखा ही नहीं था यहाँ पे, आपने यहाँ पे exist लिख दिया, तो आपको कभी ये नहीं पता लगेगा अंजलि, right? Whether वो एलिमेंट नहीं एग्जिस्ट करता था, राइट? बिकॉज अगर वो एग्जिस्ट करता था तो आपने एग्जिस्ट लिख दिया, बट आप डज नॉट एग्जिस्ट कब लिखोगे, राइट? बिकॉज दिस लूप विल एग्जीक्यूट इटसेल्फ, बट आपके पास कोई फ्लैग तो होगा ही नहीं एट द एंड ऑफ द लूप टू डिटरमाइन कि वो एग्जिस्ट नहीं करता था. गॉट इट? सबको समझ में आ गया फ्लैग यूज करना क्यों जरूरी है? फ्लैग इज अ वेरिएबल नेम. अजय, कुछ भी वैल्यू रख दिया उसका, एक वेरिएबल क्रिएट कर दिया फ्लैग नाम का, अजय नाम का रख देते हैं यार. Keep it अजय. अब ठीक है अजय, वेरिएबल ही तो है यार. वेरिएबल्स आर इनहेरेंटली समथिंग व्हिच कैन चेंज देयर वैल्यू. सबको आ गया ना समझ दोस्तों? Change the value of the variable and just see. Cool. That's it. That's all there is. Now an interesting thing. अभी ये सब why I did this is because I wanted you to learn data structure algorithms also, but I didn't want to मतलब ये करने का जरूरत नहीं था. JavaScript has a simple method for it. wherein you can just say ARR dot includes and the value of that. So ARR dot include num does the same thing, right? So let's run this. Azadam bhai says does not exist. ठीक है, अब क्या करेंगे, इसके अंदर एक 12 डाल देते हैं, reload करना पड़ेगा, right? So I'm just making this guy 12. It's still saying does not exist. Why is that happening? Can anyone tell me? Can anyone tell me? It's a very simple thing. And I want you guys to figure this out. कोई बता सकता है? Let's say this, I make this 12, right? And just remove this, whatever, right? I press enter and it says does not exist. Why is that happening, anyone? There's a small mistake here, which I wanted you guys to figure out. ARR.length, LENG, yes. Guys, बहुत simple सा था. Length का spelling देखो. Just be attentive. I had written this पहले. इधर देखो. LENGHT, which is not the spelling of length. Because of that, what was happening is वो कभी array के अंदर ही नहीं जा रहा था. Loop के अंदर नहीं जा रहा था. Got it? We fix this and it starts working. जब 12 है, तो exists, otherwise it does not exist, right? I'll push the code, don't worry. The same can be very easily accomplished by just saying ARR dot includes 12. True, ARR dot includes 56. False, ARR dot includes 1. True. Simple. Code is pushed. Just take it from GitHub. I'll stop here. And one question about flag. Has it got any other deep meaning other than it's a variable here? Variable Ajay bhi to rakh diya. Amit rakh lenge agli baar. Variable name se kya fark padta hai? It's not supposed to happen, Vishal, but I try to do it because I know it's important for your placements. If you have a problem, I will completely skip data structures. मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. I can just teach you JavaScript and go home. Pop function changes the length of function. It cannot change the length of function. It can change the length of the array. Of course, it changes. It removes an element. तब भी तो चलेगा ना वैभव भाई. If condition will still make the flag equal to 1, at the end of the loop, you will still check if flag is equal to 1. If it's 1, you will say true or exists. Otherwise, you'll say it does not exist. The problem क्या है? What is the question, Mayank? Any other question? तो पूछ लो guys. Thank you, Atul. Appreciate it. Please show the reversing using complicated methods. Just try it out by yourself now. Chrome console kholo and try it out. Matlab, I don't want to confuse others because the class is ending, so wouldn't want to leave anyone with a doubt. Kabhi fir kar lenge baat. But try it out. It's not that hard. Anything else, guys? Of course, that's what we did. See, of course, there are n number of functions. This is JavaScript we are talking about. But the question is, do you want to know how that function works? Or do you just want to use that function? It's the simple debate between being a technician and being an engineer. Which one are you?